Our champion Meredith has had an impressive run so far, and a little deceivingly so. She hasn't been dominant, but she's entered Final Jeopardy both times with a commanding lead. Will she finally put it away before Final Jeopardy? Let's find out on this edition of The Final Wager. Meredith unfortunately finds herself in the position she put two other players earlier this week, in third with no real hope of winning. It's between Rachel and Woody, who have 8,400 and 12,600 respectively, so we'll start with Rachel. She doubles up. She'll have 16,800. To cover this, Woody's going to need to wager 4,200. If Woody gets it wrong, he's going to be left with 8,400. Which means that Rachel, because she already has 8,400, is going to need to wager 0, at most. Since you can't wager less than 0, she has to wager 0. So that's going to be her wager. Meredith, you can see, can only have 7,200, so she's really out of contention unless both Woody and Rachel do something a little bit too big. Now, remember part 2 when I said that if your opponent has to wager something, you should revisit your wager. Woody might be tempted to tack on $1 here, the typical 42.01, I'm going to beat you and you can't come back sort of thing. But if that does happen, you'll be left with 83.99. And if Rachel wagers properly, 0, that's going to be kind of embarrassing for him. On the other hand, if he does wager the 4,200 like he's supposed to, he'll have 16,800, which is exactly double Rachel's score. So as an alternative wager, Rachel could wager 8,400. I would say that's questionable depending on how confident she is in the category. Meredith, to account for this, should not wager everything. She should leave at least $1 so that she does not end up in a tie for second, which would relegate her to third by the tiebreaker. In the actual game, Meredith went for everything. Rachel wagered 8,200, which doesn't make any sense at all in terms of wagering. And Woody added on that extra $1. Now, notice that if Rachel had stayed pat at 0, she would have won by $1. This is why you need to take wagering theory into account when you go into a game. Yesterday I asked a group of fellow fans, why don't players take an hour or two through their preparation and actually study wagering theory? Because it could make a huge difference in how they do. And one of them said something I hadn't thought of before, and it was, maybe they don't know it's a thing. Well, I hope more players know that it is a thing now that I'm doing this, and I'm hoping the tides will eventually turn. And that we'll see a lot of better wagers in the future, and who knows, maybe a few more ties. That'd be kind of exciting for me, but I'm weird like that. Anyway, thanks for joining me today, and I'll see you tomorrow for Friday on The Final Wager.